Here is my audience.
Alright, so effects of violent video games on teens is a very prominent topic in today's world, and there's a lot of advocates on both sides of the argument. The purpose of this presentation is to provide clear evidence that violent video games do not alter the behavior of teenagers and make them more violent. Hi, my name is Martin Shudak, and I enjoy playing video games in my free time, and I like to play first-person shooters, which are violent most of the time. So some of this scientific research claims are directed toward me, so I'd like to kind of defend myself, I guess. So based on statistics, it is likely that most of us will become parents in this class, and we would want the best for our children, so I think it's a good idea to educate ourselves on the effects of these video games and I guess the dangers of them if you have that view. So in this speech, we will cover that some believe that violent video games prime players into acting on violent tendencies, and then another claim is that they make players more aggressive over time. So the more players play the game, they would be more violent or more apt to act on this violence. So in our first scientific research, this is from Martin S., which is just from university published paper about this study, and they took 3,000 players, and half of them played a game that put objects in different categories, and the other half didn't do it. And then they did this same thing in real life, putting objects in categories, but not in a game, but in real life. And the players who played the game didn't perform any faster than the players who did not play the game, the virtual game that is. So this shows that there are no effects of priming. So this could be interpreted in the violent video games, that if you play violent video games, you're less likely to act on this violent tendencies. And again, this was a study done on 3,000 participants. And this is just a quote from the research article. And it says, exposing players to concepts such as violence in a game makes those concepts easier to use in real life, but the study actually disproves this quote. So behavioral changes over time. Claims that children and teens' behaviors change the more they play violent video games. So in the next study that we'll be looking at, they had hundreds of applicants who would play 30 minutes of a violent video game a day, and then the other people would not play it. And then they took surveys on their violence tolerances or aggressive behaviors before and after, and they saw no effects in the changes in their aggressive behaviors or empathy levels. And here's a quote from that one that says, within the group, researchers found no significant difference in volunteers' level of aggressions before and after they started the gaming. And this is from Cara E. 2018. And this is just from a website that wrote a summary of the research. So the next one was done on children, actually. It was done on 9-year-olds in the Netherlands. And this was over the course of a year. So again, kind of relating to the long-term exposure and its effects on the players. And again, they did surveys with the children as well as their close family members to assess the level of, I guess, aggressiveness and violent behavior tendencies. And then after a year of playing the same games that they have been playing, they showed no increase in their aggressiveness or other behavioral tendencies. So this kind of disproves that gaming over time using violent video games actually makes you more violent. So here's a quote from this, Ferguson CJ, which is from the Huffington Post, just a news article written on the study. And it says, exposure to violent video games at age 9 was not predictive of aggression or reduced pro-social behaviors 1 year later. And then here's just a graph the website is provided below that shows As more video game consoles became introduced to society, the level of adolescent violent crimes actually decreased greatly. So this kind of contradicts the argument that violent video games make people more violent. So to conclude, all studies presented disprove that games make kids more violent and aggressive. And I guess that's it, and thank you for your attention.
And once again, here's my audience.